1:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The Prime Minister says that an operational committee has been established to solve the professional issues of the executive officials of the state sector. 8 agreements have been signed with the government of China to develop the fishing sector. The ministerial procedure has been completed to prepare a constitutional service for the Grama Niladharis. An operation launched to stop illegal recruitment of Sri Lankan army veterans for the Russian-Ukrainian war. The presidential election should be conducted to fulfill the aspirations of the people. State Minister Diana Gamage loses her MP seat. Foreign news, the US reveals it paused shipment of bombs for Israel over Rafah concerns. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says that an operational committee has been established under the chairmanship of his secretary to solve the professional issues of the executive officials of the state sector. The report with the recommendation will be submitted speedily. He made these remarks answering to a question raised by parliamentarian Vijitha Herat. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena stated that 8 agreements have been signed with the government of China in his tour in China to develop the fishing sector. Accordingly, Sri Lanka will receive 75,000 fishing nets, 1,630 metric tons of rice, and 500 houses will be constructed for the fishing communities under the Chinese humanitarian assistance. State Minister Ashoka Priyantha says that ministerial procedures has been completed to prepare a constitutional service for the Grama Niladharis. The proposals and views from the trade unions of the Grama Niladharis have been obtained. State Minister Anupa Pascal said that many welfare programs on elderly persons are being conducted. Accordingly, 3,000 rupees will be provided to the persons of over 70 years of age. Minister Prasanna Rantunga says that the presidential election should be conducted to fulfill the aspirations of the people. The government has no intention to act detrimental to the constitution. Participating in the Dasate Sinhala program of the SLBC, he said that opportunities will be given to the present President Ranil Wickremesinghe in this regard. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
State Minister of Foreign Affairs Taraka Balasuriya says that the government has followed a clear foreign policy with all the countries in the world. Foreign relations has been strengthened after the visit of the Iranian President and the Japanese Foreign Minister to Sri Lanka. He made these remarks at a media briefing held at the Government Information Department. The Japanese Foreign Minister has appreciated Sri Lanka's recent economic progress. The state minister also said that attention was focused to recommence the Japanese projects in the country. The relationship between Iran and Sri Lanka has also been strengthened further. The National Dengue Eradication Centre says that 9 dengue patients have died so far. 1,547 persons have been affected by the dengue fever. Out of this number, 232 dengue patients have been identified in the month of April. Kandy District Community Specialist Dr. Krishantha Masarachi says that the number of dengue patients reported in the district has been increased. Kandy Municipal Health Division has also identified as a high-risk zone of dengue in addition to the 4 zones that have been identified as dengue risky areas in the Kandy district. And that ends local news for now.
Elevate your life with People's Bank Excelsior. A comprehensive banking services package with a branded checkbook as well as debit and credit card exclusively for you.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Supreme Court today declared that State Minister Diana Gamage is not legally qualified to hold a parliamentary seat. The court had concluded the hearing of an appeal filed challenging the appeals court's dismissal of a petition against State Minister Diana Gamage's parliamentary membership. Upon concluding the proceedings on February 13th, the judge bench decided to defer its verdict indefinitely. Social activist Oshala Herath had put forward the appeal 2 weeks after the petition he had filed against the state minister's parliamentary seat and citizenship was dismissed by the appeals court. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
In Watchlight this afternoon, the people who are living in Mathura to Devanira area are facing severe hardship due to the suspension of the SLBC buses that were deployed to these areas. They request the relevant authorities to redeploy these buses for the convenience of the passengers who use these roads. This is for the attention of the superintendent of the Mathura SLBC depot. And that came to you in Watchlight. Coming up next is world news and the headlines first. The US reveals it paused shipment of bombs for Israel over Rafah concerns. The US revokes licenses for the sale of chips to Huawei. And China's Xi gets red carpet welcome in Serbia. The US last week paused a bomb shipment for Israel over concerns it was going ahead with a major ground operation in Rafah, southern Gaza, a senior administration official says. The shipment consisted of 907 kilograms of bombs and 1,700 bombs, the officials told the international news agency in the U.S. Israel has not fully addressed U.S. concerns over humanitarian needs of civilians in Rafah, the official says. Israel made no immediate comment. Overnight, there were further Israeli airstrikes in the Gaza Strip hours after Israeli forces backed by tanks took control of the key Rafah crossings on the border with Egypt. The U.S. government says it has revoked some licenses that allowed U.S. chip makers to export certain goods to Chinese technology giant Huawei. The Department of Commerce did not specify which permits were cancelled, but the move follows Huawei's release of the AI-enabled computer powered by a chip created by Intel. US-based chip maker Intel declined to comment to a request for comment from BBC News. The BBC has also contacted Huawei and chip giant Qualcomm for responses to the announcement. Since 2019, the US has restricted technology exports such as computer chips to Huawei, citing alleged ties to the Chinese military. The red flags start at Belgrade's Nikola Tesla Airport and run all the way along the motorway into the center of Serbia's capital. This is Serbia's way of showing that it is proud of its ironclad friendship with China and welcoming Xi Jinping to Belgrade. At the Western City Gate, more commonly known as the GNX Tower, one entire tower is draped in China's national colors. Just for good measures, there is a billboard for Hisense, the Chinese home appliances manufacturer which opened a refrigerator factory in Valjevo, western Serbia, last year. In some parts of Europe, the Chinese president's itinerary might have raised eyebrows. After all, it's not often that Serbia finds itself as part of a three-stop tour by an international leader for such stature. Back to the headlines of the world news. The U.S. reveals it paused shipment of bombs for Israel over Rafah concerns. The U.S. revokes licenses for the sale of chips to Huawei. And China's Xi Jinping gets red carpet welcome in Serbia. And that ends world news.
Development news.
The Cabinet of Ministers has approved the implementation of the digital transformation of general education aided by the Chinese government. The Chinese government has agreed to provide for the project in accordance with the project proposal for the digital transformation of general education in Sri Lanka. A feasibility study has also been conducted in relation to the implementation of the project. And that was Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
ICC Women's T20 World Cup news. Sri Lanka skipper Chamari Atapattu hit a sensational 100 to set up a big win in the ICC Women's T20 World Cup qualifier final against Scotland. So Sarah Bryce, standing as a skipper for her sister Catherine Bryce, who missed out due to a niggle, elected to bowl first after winning the toss in Abu Dhabi, and her decision was backed by her bowlers, with seamer Priyansh Chatterjee striking in the third over with the crucial wicket of Vishmi Gunaratne. And that was sports news.
Go ekak tiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීත හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Lipton Teas and Infusions yesterday announced it has agreed to terms of a partnership which will result in the transfer of its tea estates in Kenya, Rwanda and Tanzania to Brown's Investments, alongside an agreement that all tea sold by Brown's worldwide will be grown and harvested to a new set of standards covering quality, social and environmental protections. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak tiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීත හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. Sri Lanka tourism will achieve a historic double in terms of revenue and number of arrivals for 2024, and the year will go down in history as the best year for tourism, said Director General Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, BHR Sarifuddin. He said they were targeting around 2 million arrivals, and with the July end of this year, winter season numbers showing high growth, they will pass the 2.3 million mark. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
In the weather update, an enhancement of showery condition over most parts of the island is expected during the next few days from today. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in most provinces of the island after 2 p.m. Fairly heavy showers, about 75 millimeters, are likely at some places in the north central, Sabragamua and Uva provinces. A few showers may occur over the coastal areas of Puntland to Hambantota, where Colombo and Galle during the morning too. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central and Sabragamua provinces during the morning. That was the weather report. And prior to concluding this news broadcast, the headlines once again. The Prime Minister says that an operational committee has been established to solve the professional issues of the executive officials of the state sector. 8 agreements have been signed with the government of China to develop the fishing sector. The ministerial procedures have been completed to prepare a constitutional service for the grammar Nildaris. An operation launched to stop illegal recruitment of Sri Lankan Army veterans for the Russian-Ukrainian war. The presidential election should be conducted to fulfill the aspirations of the people. State Minister Diana Gamage loses her MP seat. Foreign news, the US reveals it paused shipment of bombs for Israel over Rafah concerns. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, and handing over the microphone back to Satya on the other side to entertain you with some lunchtime music until 2 p.m. Over to you, Satya.